Yo, what's up, everybody? Flex Alexander here, and welcome to the Flex Zone All In Podcast. My partner in crime right here.
Partner in crime, Buddy Lewis.
Kennelia Stradwick is out this week. She's out there looking for a sugar daddy. So we're going to let her
sugar daddy
do that. I'm super excited, buddy, tonight. You know, I'm super excited.
I know you are.
I'm extra excited.
I am too.
Because our guest, I go way, way back. Let me see. I've seen her make this transformation, this metamorphosis from event planner to, I played in a celebrity basketball game. She did in Miami with Aida Rodriguez and all these other people. It was amazing. And she has gone on to do, I got to work with her. She's gone on to do some great work. She has her special on HBO Max, Fighting Words. She's from New York, my hometown. So I'm feeling that Boricua I love. Give it up, everybody, for Miss Aida Rodriguez. Yeah.
Oh, wrong country.
I made it.
There you go.
I don't think people realize, like, I was supposed to do this show so many times.
Yes.
I got sick.
Yeah.
What'd you get?
I had COVID.
Yeah, she had COVID.
And you know what's funny is that I had tested negative for COVID.
Wow.
And I went and did Mark Maron's podcast, and that night I got sick. I was supposed to do Nightly Pop on E, and I didn't go. I was like, I'm not gonna go. I don't, because the lady is pregnant, and I'm glad I didn't, because I tested negative. And if I would have came over here, I would have got y'all sick.
Oh man, well I got super juice because I caught it. Yeah, I already had it.
I got super juice
so
too. I caught it too. I caught it too. I was in Greece when I caught mine. So
we up right now. We up. But I appreciate you because you called and you was still like, I could try to push. I'm like, it ain't that serious.
Oh, that was the stomach virus.
The stomach joint.
Yeah, girl.
It was all from COVID though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened to me when I caught it like 3 weeks later, 3.5 weeks later. I caught a cold that turned into bronchitis. I was like, what the heck? But I had caught bronchitis 3 times prior to the pandemic. Like I caught it December into mid-January. And I never caught it before, but I realized it was from when we had black mold in the house.
Wow.
Yeah, and bronchitis is a one
condition
of the
symptoms.
Man. But you are here now, and that's all.
Looking
that is
all
important.
hot and camouflage. Good, Diva. Look at Diva.
Healthy.
Work it.
Yes.
Ida was one of. I remember one of the first few times when she ventured into the stand-up game. We had her at the Ha Cafe. She used to
Sarah's.
It was Sarah's. I'm sorry, Sarah's.
Hillary.
Yeah, Hillary. And she used to come through, man, and talk about, you see people grow. Some people have it.
Yeah.
And I think when I first saw it, I was like, it's something about it. She got it.
Yeah.
But some of the things all of the stand-up things weren't together.
Right.
Her material didn't match. Some nights was a little, she was trying jokes that were like, that's good, but you gotta fix just twist the end a little bit. It was that, but there was something about her chutzpah.
Yeah.
And her
don't give a fuckness.
Right. Exactly. It was like, I'm on stage and I'm gonna tell my story. And I was like, she got something. And I was like, she got something.
Yeah.
And man, from that, this is like probably her first 2 or 3 times on stage anywhere to the fire. When I'm talking about fire.
Yeah.
That I saw on her special, because you've done 2 really. You've really done 2 specials. You did the one with Tiff and Tiffany Haddish.
That's right.
And this one and the one on HBO. When I saw that, when I saw her lay that hot fire down, I was like, okay. And it's like watching a kid grow up, and you're like, hey man, I remember the first time I showed him how to put your hand on the ball and make sure you put your hand on the laces and now she's throwing touchdown bombs in the Super Bowl. It was beautiful.
And it was crazy to me because going from knowing you from that other life, and then seeing you at what's this, the Savoy
Mm-hmm.
And you sitting there, I think you were going up, and we were talking. He was like, "Yeah, I'm about to go up." I was like, "You going up where?"
In here?
I said, "Are you announcing an event? Like, are you putting together something?" Like, and she went up there, and I was like, "Oh shit, man! Like, what? When did that transition?" Yeah, I was like, "Hey, man, put me on early, please. I want to go on second, first or second."
A beastie.
What made you, step out from what you were doing to say, you know what, I got a voice and I want to get on the stage?
Chris Spencer.
Great. No, that dude, I'm telling you, man.
It's the truth. So Chris and I have a friend named Leah in common, and someone he went to school with. And she had a birthday party brunch, and she said, "Hey, I want you to come roast me." She said, "But I have professional comedians, so I need somebody that's not a comedian that will have some compassion." Mm-hmm. I roasted her the worst. And after the brunch, Chris came up to me. He said, "Hey, you a stand-up?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "No, you are a stand-up." He was like, "Go to do this open mic. Like, trust me, I know what I'm talking about."
Yeah.
And, truth be told, I always wanted to do stand-up, but my family was like, "That's not for girls."
Yeah.
I used to listen to Richard Pryor with my uncle when I was little.
Yeah.
And I used to listen to stand-up in Spanish, and I always used to say, I want to do that. Like, I want to make, I remember being little and listening to Richard Pryor and laughing at stuff, and I didn't even know what I was laughing at. Mm-hmm. I just remember the joke when about his dog getting high, and I was like, I knew nothing, but I just knew it was funny, right?
Right.
And I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's how it was. Like when I saw Delirious, I said, "Ma, I'm gonna do that." And my mom was like, "Oh, okay, baby, sure."
Man, you know who did that for me?
Oh,
Franklin Ajay.
Franklin Ajay, man. He's so dope.
When I heard Franklin Ajay, and my friends used to sneak and listen to Richard Pryor, because everybody's parents and had
we all had that album.
We had the Bicentennial Nigga. We all had it, and that nigga's crazy. Everybody had the albums, but you weren't supposed to listen to them as a kid, so we used to sneak. And man, how many times who been playing with my records? Because you messed with the needle or what? You didn't know how to get the stuff off of the.
You didn't put the album back in the jack. You had the plastic. You put that in first, then in there.
Who been messing with my? I was like, how did they know this?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was Franklin Ajay for me.
I got to work with him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, I did a show with him at the Improv.
He's smart comedy, man. Just like he I saw him once live, and it just blew me away. I'm like, he did a joke about the dude who trains for the Olympics and still comes in last. He said, "Man, I ain't go to no party. I ain't mess with no ladies, and my ass still coming in last." Like, that was one of the funniest bits ever, man. Then see him in Car Wash.
Man. Franklin Ajay. Yeah, the ant. What was it? The Fly. The Fly. Yeah, man. I actually sat and had a great conversation with him. He and one of my good friends, the Chance and Barry, are real good friends, and he was just at the house, and I was like a kid, I was like, and I'm this grown ass man, fiending, like, "Oh, you my idol, man." And he was really a humble dude, man, and really, but he kind of left the country, man, because he got like burned out. He was like, this, the U.S. politics, Hollywood is. It got to him, He was like, "I'm out, man." He lives in Europe now. I want to say Europe or one of the Caribbean countries, but real good dude, very funny, still talented.
He's a real good dude. Yeah. Now, listen, we know, getting that initial, I think, spotlight on a bigger scale with She Ready, but then going to your own special. This is something that all of us comedians aspire to do. Back in the day when you had an HBO special, like that was the shit, and now there are so many comedians that get them that some are warranted, some aren't. But yours, it was special for me because going to the Bronx and shooting your special in the old food stamp building, that building that I used to hold my mom's hand going to, like, what was that like? I'm like, yo, they remodeled the food stamp building.
Wow.
Like, what was that feeling shooting back at home?
Just a quick question: did they remodel it for the show, or did they?
No,
or have they been remodeled?
It's been remodeled.
Okay.
It's still. I mean, I think it's still public assistance building. It's the banknote building, but they had like this. One of the levels where we shot is just like an empty room that they use. They do banquets and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna turn that into, because it was really hard to get it done in the Bronx. They kept pushing me, trying to make me do it like in Brooklyn. They wanted me to do it, and I don't have I love going to Brooklyn. I like to go eat at Brooklyn, but I don't have a connection to Brooklyn. And then they were trying to get me to do it like at what's the name of the Sotheby's? What's it called? The
Sotheby's?
Sotheby's.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, they used to sell my grandparents. I'm doing it. No way in the world I'm doing it there.
No, I'm dead right now.
I was like, no. And so, and then it was Washington Heights. And I was like, I want to do it in the Bronx. And I kept going. I went to the Andrew, I forgot the name of the house where Beyonce she did a video there, and we were gonna do it there, but we couldn't because of they said the
ceilings are too low.
No, we were gonna do it on the roof.
Oh, on the roof.
But it didn't meet the criteria for the state, so we ended up doing it at the Banknote Building. It was awesome. Look, anybody who wanted to come see the special was going to have to come to the Bronx to see it, because I wanted the people of the Bronx to be able to have access to something nice. They had a really hard pandemic, and the Bronx had very high numbers of COVID, a lot of loss, a lot of the crime rate was up, a lot of struggle. And I wanted to bring something positive there. So I was like, I'm going to do it there so that my people can go. And anybody who wants to see it is going to, I don't want them getting arrested and profiled and pulled over going to the city. Yeah. Let people come to them there. And
how tough was that with every now and then when you're dealing with executives and Hollywood think they knows, sometimes it's a real struggle. How did you find navigating that pushback against where they wanted you to go, per se, where you wanted to go?
So honestly, HBO Max was very supportive, and the production company, I was getting pushback from the city.
Really?
Yeah, it was the NYPD was saying we couldn't do it because we were going to do a block party in the Bronx. I'm so glad we did it, because there was a hurricane that night.
Oh, man.
And it was the most water, most rain in the Bronx in the history of.
Wow.
I brought it.
You brought the hurricane.
Chris Rock brought the pain, and I brought the rain.
Ida brought the rain.
That's too fun.
But you know what? Both shows were sold out.
Yeah.
But it was a challenge, because they were like, there's a music ordinance, and they don't want the people outside. And then there was so much that we had to deal with. And HBO Max was really supportive. They were like, she wants it in the Bronx. We're going to do it in the Bronx.
That's dope.
That's so cool.
That's got to feel, that's a dream. I know that would be a dream for me to go back there, especially with, when I came up right off of Tremont Avenue, man, that would be so like Katona Park. And just that whole, and like you said, it's a feeling. And, people don't understand that. You can get a special and they want you to do it in the Village, or, and it's not that you don't have that connection, and speaking of connection, you went back home. You went back to the DR, right? And that, to me, you don't see specials like that. You don't see a lot of people doing that, and I have a connection with you in the sense of, my dad wasn't around, and by the time that I got to meet him, I found him. He was sick. I went to see him on a weekend, came back, and 4 days later he passed.
Oh,
and it was like, man, I had all this anger. I saw him. It all went away, because I was just like, yo, I just wanted to say Dad. And then I'm like, man, we got to catch up on everything. Boom. I knew he didn't have a lot of time left, get back home. So, I think he was waiting, and we had a great conversation, but there's that hole. And I know that you had some of that journey in your life with your dad and him not being there. Tell us a little bit about that journey and reconnecting with him, and how do you put those feelings aside to just say, hey, okay, now is now.
So I didn't put the feelings aside. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to show it people, because a lot of us have this unrealistic idea of what it is like when you reconnect with a parent that's been estranged. And I wanted to release people from that. Sometimes you never speak to that person again. You meet them, you be like, oh, this you? All right, then. Okay. I see what my mama was talking about. I see what she was talking
about. Now I know why you wasn't around, dude. I was better off.
But it was hard. It was so hard for me because I had a meltdown right before it happened, before the cameras came, and my kids were the ones that consoled me, because I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, why am I here? Like, what did I do this for? And then I was like, it just felt so weird. And I wanted to capture that because I wanted to have it always. And I was not going to be able to see me while it was happening. So I wanted to be able to go see it later, which I did by myself.
Right.
And
it made me cry. I'm going to tell you.
Me too.
It made me cry.
It made him cry, made me cry. And it was so, it was surreal, to find yourself and somebody that you've never seen before. Because that's really what happened. Yeah. Like, when I was little, my mom said I used to go to her at least once a month and say, you sure I'm not adopted? Like, tell me where you got me from. I used to tell her all the time, I'm not going to be mad because you got me. Just tell me, tell me where I came from. Like, just let me meet my real parents though. Yeah. And
That's
it was
so funny.
I'm not, like if you look at my siblings, like I look very different. And then when I saw this man and I saw myself, I look like him.
Yeah.
And then, he's a pescatarian like me. He's a writer. Yeah. It was just really interesting to see how genetics are, because I didn't grow up. It's got to be nature. I didn't grow up around him. I didn't know anything about him.
Right.
And so, it was a lot for me. It was overwhelming because I met I met all my siblings.
Yeah, at that table, you had everybody.
There was a lot of people
man.
there.
That's a lot to balance.
And I was one to them, and there was a bunch of them. And then, you got to memorize names. You got to, that you got to register who everybody is. They all have their own separate experiences. Their whole lives growing up, they knew about me. Right. I never knew about them. Right. So it was just like, I was like, wait, like, it was a lot. So, I wanted, plus I knew I had written jokes about it.
Yeah.
And then I scratched the jokes and I wrote some new ones based on what happened. And I wanted people to see how we mine our comedy and how our experiences inform the jokes that we make, because people dehumanize comedians. They think we're jesters. We just go on there on stage and just, and I'm like, nah, this comes from my life, and I have to process this and give it to you so you can laugh at it while I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to deal with this stuff.
Right. I could see him, you could see him, I saw in his face, like, damn, I messed up. Like, he was looking at her so proudly and so just like, I missed all those years and all that stuff has passed. And the anxiety I'm sure he had of, man, let's try to get it all back right now. Yeah. And your energy was, hold up, homie. Hold up.
It's funny because, like he was looking at me like, I could have came up. Yeah. Like, I got a U.S. citizen in the family. And I'm never going to stop joking about him as much as my siblings get mad. But, he wanted to pick up where we left off. And I was like, really? Yeah. Is that what we doing? You gonna put some money under my pillow?
Yeah.
As my senior teeth start to fall out? Like, what are we doing here?
You gonna give me a Barbie doll that you missed at Christmas?
It was just crazy. God. And it was a clash because, I had to go to Puerto Rico right after that. And I needed a break. I was like, I need a minute to process all of this. And I will get, and he was blowing me up. My sisters were blowing me up. And I was just like, I can't do this right now. This is a lot.
It's a lot.
And I'm glad I did it. I have no regrets.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about, my mother was a very young girl when we were in the Dominican Republic with my father. My mother was 15 and he was 27. Wow. It's a really big difference. Yeah. It's very common in Latin America.
Yeah. Man, I tell you, I was talking to a girl and, we were at the bar talking and she told me she was 23 and she had she was like 24. Right. And she had a 9-year-old. And I went, what? I said, you got a 9-year-old child? I was like, what time? I was married at 14. I went,
oh,
what?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the first story that I heard while, you sitting there talking, you're at the bar talking with chicks and just, conversing. And all of a sudden you hear some, I got 2 children and I'm 21. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Especially growing up in New York, growing up in the Bronx, you grew up around, there were a lot of young mothers. Right. A lot. And it was, from all sides of the track. And, and you see them together now, it's like they're sisters, you know what I mean? They have them so young. But I think that's part of the fabric of the culture. You know what I mean?
What did you, is there something that burned inside of you? Like, I've always wanted to ask this question of my dad or did you get any answer to one of those burning questions and what was it?
So one of the reasons that we had conflict, I'm going to be transparent. My mom is off limits. You can't talk about my mother. My mother was there. And so my mother was also young. And so I learned a lot about what happened during that time from the other people that I met that knew me as a baby. And there was these 2 ladies that said to me, oh, you came back to us. I didn't know who these ladies were. He took me to see them. They said, we had you most of the time, you and your mom, because every time your grandmother would throw you and your mother and you out, we would take you and then we would bathe you and we would feed you. And, she was like, your mom was a little girl. So, one of the things that he has a problem with is accountability.
Yeah.
And it's not just my mom. Like, he had conflict with the other 2 mothers as well. And so at some point you got to look and say, it's you, right? Yeah. And so he had a really tough time with that. And he was like trying to blame my mom. And I'm like, she was a teenager.
Yeah.
She ran for her life. She was surviving. And so for me, he tried to answer all the questions before I asked them, but it was all defensively. And and that turned me off. Because I would have preferred him to say, he could have said, my bad, and I would have been good with it. He'd have been like, oh, my bad. I'd have been like, yo, you know what? I feel you, man. I get it. But the crying, and then, he said, all the women I've been with have been bad to me. And I was like, and I'm like, he's still saying that. So, I was just like, I'm gonna need a minute for this because that man is probably never going to change.
Right. Do you think some of that is personal or cultural?
Both. Yeah. The resistance to evolve is very prevalent in the Caribbean, and it's just because it benefits the people who don't want to evolve. And usually that's men, right? Because they want to sleep with young girls. They want to have kids from younger women because they're easier to control. They want to have multiple women. We've accepted in the Caribbean that it's cool. Like, everybody jokes about, oh, how many kids your daddy got? Like, how many people reached out to me after they saw the special? They were like, yo, my dad got 17 kids. Like, 6 moms. It was so many.
Listen, my dad had multiple families. I met my brother like in '89. I had 2 other brothers, another sister, my brother Todd, my brother Rob, my sister Frendina. She passed away, and I have a Italian and Black brother. I have a Puerto Rican and Black brother. Robert Herschel, and like, if you're out there, I'm looking for you. Like, it just blew me away. But the blessing out of it was, you know, connecting with them. You know what I mean? And my brother Todd and I were like super close now, and I'm thankful for that. You know, and that was the thing when I saw my father, and he kind of did that. He said, "Hey man, I was young, you know, I just doing my thing," and I was like, "Hey, I get it." You know, he didn't play the blame game.
Yeah, that's good. Like, hey, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I fucked up. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you know, my brother's born in March. I was born in April, same year. We the ghetto twins.
Yeah, hey, I met my youngest half brother on Facebook. So
they found my sister.
So I know of him. You know, I had seen a picture or two of him, but we had never.
Yeah.
You know, and I told this story recently. It's funny how generationally you get things, but you don't know why you get them.
Yeah.
All of us are in the same fraternity.
Oh wow.
You know, and it's not like we had our dad to map out that thing for us.
Yeah.
But it's something in that and I mean it was
in your
weird.
gene.
In our gene. It's the Q gene.
You're a wild man.
It kind of ran through.
Yeah.
You know, and so you start realizing that family gene is that DNA. There are certain things about those two young men that are my half brothers that we all have similar things in common.
Yeah.
You know, one of them sings, one of them's an art. You know, it's that same.
It's in
same
that
DNA
same thing
right.
with my brother Todd. He's a producer and I mean, he drove. When we met, it was the first time we met, we looking at each other, and I had a flat top. He had a flat top. It was like, we got upstairs. I was like, yeah, I draw. He was like, I draw too. I like music. You like music? Me too. It was like, it was so funny. And it's just that gene. You know what I mean? We had that in us. And that's something that you can't shake it if you wanted to.
Is meeting the rest of your siblings, did you find that there are similarities in your personalities as well, you know, with like there are other siblings that have talent as, you know, singing or dancing or arts endeavors?
You know what? My sisters that are still in the Dominican Republic are both speakers. And they do a lot of philanthropy. They do a lot of public speaking.
Okay.
I have a niece who's a writer who looks like me. And yeah, like, you know, I'll tell you, like, the hardest thing about the situation is being who I am and what I do. Because, you know, when you come from the hood and you come from poverty, if you on TV, people think you rich.
Oh my God.
You know, they have no concept of what the financial structures in Hollywood are.
Yeah.
So we're in this complicated space where I was the one that got left. Right? Regardless of how I'm doing right now, I was the one that got left, right? Yeah. Everybody else had their father. But nobody wants to chase me because I'm the Hollywood one, right? So it's this whole thing of, you know, I'm not calling her because she's this and she's that. And I'm like, y'all motherfuckers, y'all left me. I was the one that was left behind. You knew your daddy. You said
hilarious.
I have never said dad my whole life. Even after I met my father, I've never said papi. I don't call him that because I said it one time in the documentary because I wanted to know what that felt like. Yeah. And it still felt weird for me. And so there's a communication gap because I can't chase them. It messes with my self-esteem. Yeah. And they don't want to chase me because it messes with their self-esteem.
Right, sure.
And it just got to be that way. But, you know, I don't need nobody. Like, I'm good now. Like, you know, I don't have to go to the banknote building anymore.
Yeah.
So,
I know, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now it's like I've reached this place where I'm willing to meet anyone in the middle, so that we can have an amicable relationship at this point, from this point forward, from where we are.
Right.
Because we can't go backwards. But I'm not in the business of negotiating my self-esteem and my dignity for anybody, regardless of what they think, because I had to deal with that my whole life of being illegitimate or having no father. And so I just refuse to do that. And I have a brother that lives here.
Wow.
And he's been here for years, and we have a very amicable relationship. And he's married, here, and we, we get along, but I'm not chasing anybody. I'm just not. I'm tired of feeling like I've been chasing him my whole life,
Yeah. Now, what do you think the trip did for your children? Because I saw you had your children there, and they seemed like they were really like, we got your back. Like,
absolutely.
It was that shot when you were walking, and they like hugged you, and was just like, we got your back no matter what. What was, because I'm sure that was a lot for them, like meeting all these people, like, I'm your
never
what?
known.
Yeah, you've never known. What was that like for them?
They were very protective of me. They took turns sitting next to me, regardless of where we were. They were like, "You got it? All right, I got it." They got to meet a part of themselves that they had never seen before. They got to see Black people in Latin America that they could identify with. One of my sisters is dark skinned. And my daughter was like, "Oh, I have an aunt that looks like me. Like I have someone." She really, they connected. She really liked her. And when we went to Puerto Rico, it was different because where we were in Puerto Rico, the people were lighter.
Yeah. Now to touch on that real quick, because that's a thing in the Caribbean and that culture. It's like, it was just a different stop on the boat.
Yes.
Like, and it's a real thing with the lighter. And I know in Jamaica, it's like that. The lighter is more affluent. They, I'm really not Black. And then
British.
the darker skin they're more, I'm on the British side. And the darker ones are more like the field workers and stuff like that. What addressing that and confronting that, what was that like?
It was good because, first of all, I wanted to show Black people on screen that spoke Spanish and not show people begging for money and show the ugly side, because that's what they always show when you go to the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. It was also, we did it for us, me and my kids, and everybody else's philosophies about Blackness is their own, because we know, we were taught and they were taught that melanin is divine.
Yes.
So they've never had a question about that, and they just got to see another faction of that. But it was, it was a lot for them because, Puerto Rico was different. Puerto Rico is where my grandmother's from. That's the side of the family we grew up in.
Yeah.
We grew up with. So they culturally, they could identify with a lot of stuff there. Yeah. But racially, they identified more in the Dominican Republic because they saw more people that looked like them.
Right.
And it was just it was a great gift for them to be able to, I was talking about this. California is so twisted when it comes to colorism. It is, they idolize mixed people here. This whole mixed thing of half Black, half white. And it's so superficial and it's so vapid. Yeah. And so where we come from, where we see Puerto Ricans and Dominicans here, they don't know what that is. If you speak Spanish, then you're Mexican, and there's a bunch of Latinos here that are from Central America that are not Mexican. And so, you come here, this whole thing of mix it's a very strange, we just not used to it. It's corny. And so, people telling my kids, you don't look mixed. And I always tell them, I always had to tell them, you don't look mixed, you are mixed. Right. Mix is not what you look like, it's who you are. And you're bicultural, right? Because biracial is you just come from two different types of Black people. Right?
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
That's
and
it.
some of them eat plantains and some of them eat collard greens, and that's just who you are. But I'm so glad that I gave that to them at home, because here is so goofy. Yeah. So when they went there, it's normal. Like they were just like saw Black people that looked like them, like when they go to New York or when they go to Miami.
Yeah.
And that's the homeland, Right. Like this is where your great grandmother was from, and these are the people these are your people, and so it was good for them.
Now you were speaking before we jumped on about some stuff you were dealing with, because when you post stuff, I remember you posted something, breaking down this whole thing about, the woke people and this whole thing. And you always say I appreciate it because you speak what you feel. You like, this is who I am. And you get heat from it.
Yeah, I got people bullying me.
And you were just saying that you were now getting some threats from it. That it's step 2, like kind of DEFCON 3. Like what's been going on?
Oh no, it's been going on for a long time. It's what's funny is, and you guys will understand this better than most people. When George Carlin said what George Carlin said, he is lauded as a genius, and culture changer, disruptor, and they laud him for that. Provocateur. Yeah. They laud him for that.
Yeah. Right.
When Bill Burr does it, it's the same thing. Yeah. But when I do it, is stick to comedy.
Right.
And it's like, your favorite comedian didn't stick to comedy, because George Carlin talked about abortion. He talked about gay people. He talked about Democrats and Republicans and capitalism. Yeah. And you never said stick to comedy. And that's how racist it is. So when people hear me speak, they're like, why are you just not telling jokes? And basically it's their racism that they cannot hide, saying, we want you. Why you not dancing, girl? Why you not dancing for us?
Yeah.
Shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
And I say, shut up and giggle, bitch, because these are my jokes, right? And it's just, that's what I've been dealing with. But that's the decision that I made. I it's so funny, and I don't care anymore. Like, as a woman in comedy, I can't tell you how many people told me not to be dirty. Right? Like, don't be a dirty comic. You're smarter than that. As a woman, you should talk about this, that, and the other. Yet and still, the most successful women in comedy are all dirty. Right?
But I don't look at just a dirty comedian. Like, that word dirty, like, I don't look, you're smart. I think you're one of the most intelligent comedians, male or female.
Thank you.
And I'm saying that, like, I honestly, because I listen, and the dirty comic, that's the misnomer that I mean, you speak in your mind, and if it's got some some filth in it, it is what it is. But you come from a different place.
No, I know. But so people don't categorize me as being dirty, but what I'm saying is that as much as they told me not to be dirty, when you look at the women who are not dirty, they're not the most successful comedians. When you think about Kathleen Madigan or Laurie Kilmartin, women who got hot pens that can write real jokes, and they're not going for the low common denominator comedy. Not to say that that's what women do, because all comedians do that. Men and women go for the cheap jokes. But when you think about women who are doing the things that are more cerebral, they don't get they don't get the specials, right? They like dirty. And it's just funny, like, all the stuff that people have told me, and I just had to say, just like you and I had the conversation, I'm not about to let people dictate what my voice is going to be.
Exactly.
This is just who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, that, making that, trying to put you in that box of dirty is kind of a racist thing in itself, because no one says that about Wanda Sykes. She's not a dirty comic. She's considered smart. She's considered relevant. And she's a provocateur. You know what I mean? She says things that are provocative, and she's on the edge. No one says that about Chris Rock. He's dirty. And so I think, like you said, you have to find your voice and find your lane in comedy, and you found it. And it's a fine line between being you and throwing some politics in there and some this is what this does to me, and this is what I want to say about this issue, and that's just being you.
Yeah. Listen, you got more chutzpah and balls than a lot of dudes I know. They get up there. You got dudes
shucking and jiving.
They get up and just want to, appease, those who tell them, oh, go this way and that way. And then you have people that they get lost and they never find their true voice.
I want to ask you something. Have you found it easier now to work in some spots you couldn't work before, you know, the mainstream rooms, the Improv, Laugh Factory, Comedy Store? Are you able to book yourself, like just call and say, hey, I'm coming down, give me
No.
Really?
Well, locally?
Yeah.
Yeah. Locally,
Okay.
they treat me here with, but the Laugh Factory's always had my back. Like they've always put me on stage. Mm-hmm. And the Improv, Rita was the first person to make me a regular at a club. Okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and in New York, I get a lot of respect because I went to New York and I got my stripes there, and I went to New York for years.
Yeah, boy.
Every month.
That's the stripes there.
Yeah,
baby.
like I was like, I'm not, you know, I wanna become a New York comedian and I wanna be respected there. And I became, you know, a regular at the Stand and the Cellar, and I put in my work.
Right.
But you know, it's just funny, like what you were saying. I've made a decision that I am not going to compromise my humanity, my dignity to make any white person feel good. Mm-hmm. And any white person who's in my life is a person who feels that I shouldn't have to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm at this point. So when I see these comedians who want to, you know, who are doing that, it's an insult to white people that are fully restored in their humanity and care about other people, especially people of color and Black people in this country. They're the ones that are like, you ain't got to do that for me. You could just be yourself. I understand the dynamic and what has happened. Right. And so what I've been watching is Wanda went out with me when I was doing They Ready, and she watched my sets, and she went to multiple clubs with me. And she worked out with me with my set and said, we're going to change this here. This sounds this way, this one. And she gave me notes, and she gave me respect. Mm-hmm. You know, like Marsha Warfield is somebody who respects me. Yeah. And, you know, she told Wanda she gonna be somebody in comedy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She introduced me to Wanda, and Wanda was like, I just produced this bitch.
Wow.
But it was so funny because I love Marsha Warfield. Mike Epps told me that I reminded him of Marsha Warfield. Right. And I take that as a compliment because I think she's brilliant, right?
She's a vanguard.
She's vanguard.
She's a vanguard.
100%. So yeah, and I don't wanna do anything else, and I don't wanna do this another way. So for me, it's like, you know, watching my friend ascend into superstardom really adjusted my perspective about what I wanted to do in this business. Right. And I love her to death, and I see her, and I'm so happy for her, but that's not what I've ever wanted. I'm not gonna say a real artist. That I'm not trying to offend her or insult her, but I'm an artist to my soul. Right. This is what I do. I study comedy as an art and as a science. I love it. Yeah. And I want to turn it inside out, and I want to shift culture and do things that have never been done before. I also want to create other stars. Yeah. I want to create television and movies and make other people famous. I want to step back sometimes. I'm directing 3 comedy specials for HBO Max in the summer.
Excellent.
Nice. You know, and I don't have to it ain't gonna be on my Instagram. Like it's not, I'm gonna let's show Ian Lara, who's a new comic in New York that I love and adore. Let's do this. Yeah. So for me, you know, I'm watching Kevin and Tiffany and all of them, and I was like, oh, that's not what I want. What I like is what Tina Fey does and Donna Glover does, and
Now is it because you see the scrutiny and how focused that microscope is for every little mishap or not being perfect?
No. I don't. They're gonna do that anyway. Right. But for me, it's just about the artistry. Right. Like for me, capitalism has ruined true art. And if you do this for money, you're going to always be disappointed. If you do it for fame, you're going to always be disappointed. Popularity. But if you do it for the art, you know, I mean, how many artists were not popular when they were alive, but their art lived on, right? Legacy. Yeah. You know, how many people were popping during the time of George Carlin and Richard Pryor? Yeah. And you only hear, you know, and if you think about it now, when you ask people who are your favorite comedians, they gonna say Richard Pryor, George Carlin, right? And that's generation after generation, and they're still there. So that means that art is good, and that's what I'm focused on. Like for me, it's not about stardom and popularity and you know like being in the in crowd in Hollywood. the people that I respect the most are the people you see the least, because they're busy creating. And, you know, you don't see Tina Fey everywhere all the time. Right. You know what I mean? You don't see Amy Poehler everywhere all the time. You don't see Donald Glover everywhere all the time. Issa Rae everywhere. They busy in the lab. And that's what feeds me.
Right. Right. Yeah. That, you know, man, yeah, that's wow. I'm still chewing on that, because, you know, as a stand-up, and especially for myself, I always talking about the jumping back and forth. You know, you stop and you start, and you stop and you start. And I went out to the Laugh Factory again. Chris Spencer, hey man, get your ass back out there. Get back out and just smell it. Be in the atmosphere. And I'm in there, and you away from it, and you think like, man, I'm too far off the rail. Like I may not be. They're way ahead of me in subject or whatever. And then I go and I'm like, oh, okay, so they talking about stuff I talk about.
Life.
Oh, okay, life. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I can do that. So for me, I've always loved stand-up, and growing up, coming up in New York and learning from the Uptown Comedy Club and getting that training. And me too, like going to the Comedy Cellar, Boston Comedy Club, Uptown, Stand Up New York, Comic Strip, and getting those stripes, man. I say it all the time. That is probably one of the things I don't regret much. I think I regret that the most is stopping when I got on television and missing that, not so much the fame of it, but that generation of people, you know, and that time and things to talk about, and just staying in that rhythm, you know what I mean? And that's and getting it back, telling you, man, that's been, you know, because after the pandemic, I mentally could not restart. You know, I could not restart.
You get it, man. It's like riding a bike, baby.
Yeah.
You got to just put your big boy helmet on and get on there and squat them knees up, flex. Hit that shoulder once or twice.
Oh yeah,
you get on
down.
in there.
It's going, because
you know, you watch like Earthquake and see him get a second win right now.
Yeah,
right.
And you know, and you see him now. They're talking about a TV show, and I remember Earthquake saying on the radio that he had a show in development based on his life.
Yeah.
And that they made him audition to play himself, and he didn't get the role. It was like, many years ago. And I was like, yo, this is so funny. Like, but to see him now.
I love Quake.
Quake is great.
I love Quake. But that, man, and listen, that's my ultimate. If, you know, my ultimate is I'm going to do that. I'm going to have my special one day, just to do it, man, and talk about the shit I want to talk about, because I've always, I kind of cared about what people thought. You know, I remember when we did the Baltimore Comedy Connection, and this one couple, you know, said, oh, they were looking funny, and I was like, hey, y'all all right? Oh yeah, we just, you know, watching you on one-on-one. I'm like, yeah, well, this ain't one-on-one. Like, you're gonna hear some shit. You're gonna smash. So you know, I'm gonna tell. I'm giving you my experience, right? You know, and they laugh.
Tell my story.
Yeah. So that's.
It's like Bob Saget. Bob Saget on stage.
Oh
was
my
completely
God.
different than Full House.
Full House. He was not the Full House. He was Filth House. That's what he was. God rest his soul.
Yes.
Now, in doing your show, you I saw in the special, you did a special thing for Tony Baker's son, Serene, God rest his soul, and tell us about that.
You know, I asked his permission because I didn't want to exploit his child's death, but Tony and I started comedy together, and we both started with our kids midlife. You know, we were not 19, 20.
Yeah.
And Tony and I have always been brother and sister in comedy. You know, Serene had DM'd me a couple of times before he passed away. I had seen him because I did Tony Baker and Friends. And he was part of our village. You know, I have my class of comedy is a lot closer than your class. You guys were a lot more competitive and antagonistic with each other and with us. So we bonded in a very different way. And so, you know, it was awful because Serene passed away and Nick passed away. And Nick lived with Tony and his two boys. And Nick and I were really close. Right. Nick was Nick opened for me the weekend before he passed away.
Wow.
We were in Washington together. It was a lot right out, and then Fu passed away.
Yeah.
Then my friend Lisa Vidal's son passed away.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of loss. And I don't think people realize that when we show up, sometimes we show up in spite of everything that's happening in our lives to make other people happy.
Yeah.
And we are grieving, you know. I lost my grandmother and my uncle 2 months apart. They raised me. So I lost like my other parents in 2013. And then Wanda called me and said, I need you to do Last Comic Standing. And I was doing comedy and walking on stage and crying because I was still dealing with the grief. So Serene belonged to our village, and my kids, his kids, we watched each other's kids grow up. My daughter cooked for Tony one time, and he's like, "That's the best salmon I ever had."
He'd be like, "That's the best salmon I ever had."
There you go. That's him.
I love that dude, man. Love that dude. It's
And
such great
so
energy.
I was like, I wanted to honor Serene, and I wanted to do it in a way. Tony is, he showed up for people when his son passed away.
Yeah,
he was like trying to console the people.
Yeah.
And I just wanted him to know that I love him and that, I love Serene and that I love, Sincere, and I want him to always be remembered.
Right.
And so if I can participate in any way to do that, that was what that was about. And I wanted to do it in a way that expressed joy.
Yeah, it was beautiful, man. And obviously, going back to what you said, people don't realize the pain. We could be dealing with all kind of shit during the day, but we got to get to this
of pain.
We got to get to this 8:20 spot. I remember when the sheriff came and took our house, I had an audition. I got to go in there and focus. And I'm like, we living at the Embassy Suites right now, and having to try to get on stage. And I don't feel like it.
Right.
But I got to come make you laugh. And then you experience somebody in the audience just want to be the asshole or want to sit back there and like, you have no idea what I'm going through. And I don't think they really understand. Like you said, it's like we said earlier, you got to get up there like, like, you're doing this whole song and dance. And it is I think the comedy and the drama phase is perfect.
Yeah.
Because, in ancient Asian culture, they talk about, we all have two faces.
Right. One
we show the world, and one, we show our family and people close to us and who we really are. And it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough to get up there and push past that and make people laugh. And there was times I'm on stage and I didn't have no gas money.
Yeah.
And I'm going to the comedy union and I'm trying to
And you still ain't had no gas money?
Gas money.
Hey, you did your set.
I could
and then didn't have nothing. I
could get there. I could get there, and I'm like, I sure hope Ends offer me that $25. Because before I'd be like, nah, I'm good, Ends. Nah, I don't need it. And he come and be like, yo, man, here's a little something. I'm like, man, thank you, man. Like, I'm telling you, that is. And that's, I think, the love for it, man, being able to just go and express that shit.
Exactly. You know what I want to ask you, Ida, there, one thing that I think comics do when they do their stand-up is they start preparing or maneuvering their stand-up toward a show, a movie, taking your life and putting is that in the cards for you right now? Is there show potential in for someone seeing it in your stand-up?
So I had a show in development at HBO Max.
Okay.
I have it back now. I decided to take it back, and then I'm working on another show that is based on my comedy and my life. So yeah, I've had 2 deals for a TV show.
Okay.
And What I figured out is that I'm not going to be able to make a TV show until I write it myself. And so it's just, Hollywood has a way of convincing you that you can't do stuff, right?
Right. You need to tell you can't do it.
Or that you need, because they got to assign the people that they have, that they keep in the system.
Right.
So you need a showrunner to do your show. Yeah. But the reality of it is that white dude is never going to be able to tell your story because he has no idea what your story is.
And here's the interesting thing I've come to find out, that the 10 or 15 showrunners that are black that are out there all have jobs and have jobs waiting on jobs. And so there's been no conscious development of future showrunners in a lot of these camps. Yeah. And so now the opportunity for us a lot of times is even greater now when you say write your own thing and be your own showrunner, is because there are none. Yeah. So if you're going to give it to some arbitrary white person, you might as well let me do it, because at least I know my own story. Yeah. And I was talking to some producers, and one of the things, they were like, hey man, we were thinking, they came to me, like, hey buddy, we want to try and need you. Are you ready? You think you can run a show? You should be a showrunner. I said, look, Laura Denham didn't she wasn't a showrunner when they gave her a show at HBO. Yeah. Issa Rae wasn't a showrunner when they made her an EP of her own show. Right. I've been a writer on several television shows. I created a TV show. Yeah. Why can't I be a showrunner? Right. Yes, I'm ready. Give me a show. Yeah. Let me do my thing.
Can you assign a line producer to a show? Yeah,
give me a line producer who knows that. And that's what I told the guy today. I said, I don't know all of the ins and outs that have to do with the money and the business.
But you're not going to learn it until
I'm not going to learn
unless you do it.
Unless I do it. And I said, let me do what I do, which is I'm on the creative side. I'm on the written word side. Right. I'm on the, hey man, I can put a room of people together and we can bang out a script, and I can do that. Yeah. That part of the EPing job I can do. Right. So let me do it. And so like you said, you're gonna have to find that lane as well when you're saying I'm gonna do it myself. Do you have time? Do you find yourself being out of time?
I'm on page 25.
There you go. There you go.
And I already have I did a one sheet on it, and I already have a potential production company that I want to do the show with.
That's dope.
But yeah, I said
you got my number, right?
I got your number and your email. You're always on my list.
That's inspiring, man, because I'm telling you, that is the battle. That's what I'm going through currently. It's I have this. You got your deck. You got this. But is there a script? No, there's not a script. And okay, we got to find a writer. And that I hate doing that, but I have to push myself to go. I will sit down at the computer, I will get Final Draft, and I sit there and I keep telling myself, oh man, you're not a writer, you can't. Instead of starting,
get all that cuckoo out your head.
Listen,
I'm letting out a lot right now. I'm admitting a lot. This is a therapy session. Like,
therapy with Ida.
You got to deal with those.
But Lena Dunham sold her show on a. She sold her show on a paragraph. Like it wasn't even. Yeah. So, the thing is that they try to make it seem like this is this thing that is so complicated. Structure is, you could pay somebody to structure your script. Yeah. They will never know.
Shit, now they do it automatically in Final Draft.
No, but what I'm saying is you can send your script to a script doctor.
They fix it.
Ghostwriters. They fix it for you and they send it back. All they want is the money that you pay them for doing it, right? Right. So it's like, is it really that complicated? That's the thing that Albert Einstein said, I'm so thankful for everybody who told me no. Because of them, I did it myself. Wow. I just, it resonated with me. And I was like, nobody's going to be able to tell this story
Right.
Because I don't want to do a campy, hacky Latino show where they're, like I got a Sharpie. And I'm not doing
Please do that again.
I'm not doing it. I just can't. So
I got the Sharpie.
Yeah, it's just like, that's not the world that I come from. Like I watched Reservation Dogs and I was like, yo, that's the kind of show I want to make. Or Atlanta, like that's the kind of show. You never, Southside, you've never seen a show with Latinos where, it's the sensibility and the tone is dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always like this. We always happy. Like, they coming to steal our taco truck. And it's just like, shall we dance?
Churros, everybody.
Oh, my God.
That shit is so annoying. And I'm like, that ain't what happened. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how many times we gonna do a show when they coming to steal or trying to get in our neighborhood? We already know that story. Can we just show our world?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What about us and just our simplicity
Yeah.
and our complexities and just being alive,
Yeah.
Like waking up. That's what I loved about Reservation Dog. I've never seen life on a reservation before.
Yeah.
In a way that I could relate to, hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was done in a way like the elders call all the children niece and nephew.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that's what we need.
Yeah, that village.
So I'm just gonna do it myself, and I feel good. I love my script so much because I know that it's authentic and it's real and it's something you've probably never seen before in this world.
I can guarantee they've never seen it before because it's you.
Yeah.
And it's authentic, because it's you.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. Yeah. Keep writing, girl.
Thank you.
So we have about 4 minutes left.
Okay.
And I ask this question every show.
Muhammad Ali.
What would you what would Aida now tell her younger self to what would Aida now tell her younger self or say to her 17, 18-year-old self to prepare for?
I wouldn't, what I would say to her is, where you been? Because when I was 17, I was fearless. You could not tell. I was getting out the hood and I was going to do it by any means necessary with a baby on my back. Like I was not going to let anybody tell me that you couldn't tell me I could not do anything.
Yeah.
I had a 5th grade teacher named Miss Rowe, the most beautiful Black woman I ever met in my entire life. She graduated from this life last year and she was everything to me. And she used to always tell me, there ain't nothing you can't do. Right. And I believed her.
Yeah.
And when I was 17, I would always think, I thought I could do anything. I left home. Home and I never went back. And so now sometimes when I think so much or I find myself being afraid or I reserved, I always wonder where that little girl was, because that little girl was fearless. That little girl rocking her J's, fighting, doing whatever she needed to do to get out of there. And that tenacity to survive and to make it is something that I have to reconnect with sometimes because they beat it out of you,
Right.
Now, if you could think back, you're 17, 18, what would you look in the future to say to your future self, to watch out for?
Oh.
Dude named Craig.
Hey! Stay away from the bean pie stand. Leave them fish sandwiches alone, girl. Go to the Pentecostal church.
and it could be, they have to be, relationship related, just, business, whatever,
No, what I would tell myself is to beware of allowing myself to seek my validation outside of myself. Because that has been the trap of all traps, is trying to find validation from others when the most successful people that you respect and love and adore never did it their way. Right. They only did it their own way. They never did it Muhammad Ali didn't care if you liked him or not.
Right.
That's my hero, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Lee didn't care if you liked him or not. They did it their way.
Yeah.
And so I would tell me, stick to the plan, follow the path, and don't seek validation outside of yourself, because that's the trap. The trap is we come to Hollywood and we want Hollywood to like us, and then we try to be like what they think, we think they like. But the people who are successful are the mavericks, are the ones who do it themselves, right? Jim Carrey ain't like nobody else.
Nobody. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, we have to. So I would tell me, don't look for it anywhere outside. It's all in you. The magic is always in you.
I love that.
I love that.
Where can you tell people to follow you? I'm sorry, you want to say something?
No, we have to have Ida back again. Because I want to talk about the next time you're here. And I want to talk about your Young Turk experience, and I want to talk to you a little bit about politics, because you are a genius with bringing humor to political political arena. And so the next time you come, we're going to get into that. But and you got to come back.
I will.
You promise? Okay.
Y'all, so 13 minutes from my house.
Okay, cool. Right,
nice.
Cool.
So
don't tell the
Proud Boys.
Yeah, don't tell the Proud Boys. 30 minutes from
I live in Pasadena.
Right. You live in Pacoima.
Tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Funny AIDA on Instagram and Twitter, and Aida.Rodriguez on Facebook. And I'll be in Caroline's the 24th through the 26th, and Comics at Mohegan Sun, March 3rd through the 5th.
Yes.
Buddy.
I'm back on Instagram. I have a new account. I was Buddy Lewis Jokes, but now I'm the real Buddy Lewis Jokes on Instagram. I've got up to 45 followers in just a week. I'm doing it. Okay, start following me back. But I'm Buddy Lewis Jokes on Twitter and on Facebook.
Please follow this, man.
Please follow me.
You can find me Flex A For Real. That's Flex A FOREAL on Instagram. Same name on TikTok. Flex Alexander on Facebook. And we'll be right here again next week. Go down to the bottom right there, smash that like button, and subscribe. We thank you for your time, and we out. Have a good one.
Music, please.
We can't afford a soundtrack yet.
Yeah.